Hello everybody and welcome to, I think this is part 4 of my FTC Programming tutorial video series. All we're going to talk about in this video is the hardware map. Now the hardware map is a substantially larger type than DC motor simple, but we're going to make it really easy. We only care about one function from the hardware map, and that is .get. So let's get into it. So if you remember a few videos ago, I said you need to have reference to something in software in order to do something physically. And in the last video when we talked about DC motor simple, I mentioned that this test motor was eventually going to hold physical reference to a motor on the robot. So the hardware map is how we actually do that. And all that means is we're going to set this test variable equal to something, and what we're going to set it equal to is a reference to a motor on our robot that we're going to get from the hardware map. So this is how we do that. We don't need to import anything for calling the hardware map like this, so we're good there. And the only function we care about on the hardware map is .get. And what this .get method is going to do is it's going to return to us a reference to a physical motor that we have plugged into our robot. And there's two things we need to give this function in order to get the piece of hardware we want. The first thing we need to give it is we need to give it the type of the piece of hardware that we want. So in this case, it's going to be DC motor simple. We need to add this .class at the end of it. I'm not going to explain the whole semantics of why that is, because it's a little bit weird and we don't really care about it at all. I probably wouldn't even do a very good job of explaining it. All you need to know is you have to add that. So this DC motor simple is just going to match up with whatever type we want to do. If we don't have it match exactly, it's going to try and do some typecasting, and we don't want that. So the second thing we have to add is we have to add the name of whatever we called this piece of hardware in our robot configuration. So if I happen to name this motor test, then that's all we would have to do. In some other cases, like for your 4 motors that are on your drivetrain, some of them might be named left front, right front, back left, back right. So like right front, for example, if this was our right front motor, maybe I wanted to call this test variable right front as well, just to keep track of all the motors. But you get the idea. So that's all we care about in the hardware map. You just need to make sure that this first thing you pass in matches whatever type you want, and you need to make sure that this string matches exactly to what you have on your robot configuration. All spaces need to match, all capitals need to match, all special characters need to match. You'll learn very, very quickly that in programming, everything about everything you type actually matters, so make sure that you type it exactly how it is. If you need more information about the hardware map, you can check out the documentation page. Now, the hardware map is a substantially larger object than DC motor simple, so it's a little bit hard to read, but all we care about is this first function, get. All right, in the next video, we're going to talk about gamepad, and then we'll get into building our very first teleop mode.